President Ronald Reagan established the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, where it puts into law the 100 to 1. That's what it states. President Ronald Reagan established the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, where it puts into law the 100 to 1 ratio disparity between the penalty for possession of crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. Basically, a person must possess 5 grams of crack cocaine to face a mandatory minimum prison sentence of 5 years. But on the other hand, a person who possesses a large quantity of powder cocaine, 500 grams, will receive the same mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. Now, pharmacologically, these two drugs are the same, but we see an imbalance in the drug sentence of quantities. Okay, we have to note that 90% of those who are found with possession of crack cocaine are of African American descent, and those who are found with possession of powder cocaine are those who are not African American descent or African descent. Anyway, the street value of 5 grams of crack is approximately $250. Okay, and the street value of 500 grams of cocaine is approximately $12,000. So already we have 500 grams of cocaine will get you 5 years, but that same quantity can get you about 12 grand. On the other side, 5 grams of crack, which is worth $250, will get you a larger quantity. So we see if you sell cocaine is actually better, from a drug dealer perspective, because it's low risk, high reward. Selling crack from a drug dealer perspective would be asinine because it's high risk, low reward. No money, but the same, you guys get it. Here's the problem though. If the African American drug dealer decided to sell cocaine to wisen up and be a smart drug dealer, all drug dealing is wrong. But if he decided to wisen up and try to sell cocaine, the problem is he don't have a market for it because his people are crack users by design. All right, and majority of cocaine users, at least are at least by perception are Europeans. So he wouldn't even have the market for cocaine. Anyway, so for an average drug dealer, what is the likeliness at any given time he or she will possess 5 grams of crack as opposed to 500 grams of cocaine? As my students say, seriously? So for an average drug dealer, I said that already, most drug dealers have stash spots where they keep the bulk of their drugs, right? And they only carry a small amount near 5 grams of crack, all right? Or cocaine or crystal meth. Now, let me add this too. The mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years for possession of crystal meth is also 500 grams. So these drugs that are predominantly used or perceived to be used by Europeans, they require a large quantity to do some jail time. Right? Funny. Popularized by media via TV and radio towards a predominant African American culture, the illegal drug life, whether selling or using, is glorified, by way of entertainment. The music that circulates the radio airways aimed at a large African American audience is allowed to basically promote illegal drug selling, and illegal drug usage around the clock, morning to dawn. If you don't believe me, if you're in the tri-state area, just tune in to Hot 97.1. Anyway, or if you have satellite TV. So, legislators have made the minimum possession of crack so low, knowing that the average street dealer will be in violation of possession at any given time. And the minimum possession of powder cocaine so high that the average street dealer will not be in violation of possession at any given time. Because no drug dealer is going to carry his entire product with him or her at any given time. That's just no. That's just a duh moment. All right. The drug disparity becomes racial for the obvious reasons. Published in 2000 by the National Institute on Drug Abuse, reported that white students use cocaine at 7 times the rate of black students, use crack cocaine at 8 times the rate of black students, and use heroin at 7 times the rate of black students. Okay, so that's one study. Here's another one. The National Household Survey on Drug Abuse reported in 2000 that white youth 12 through 17 are more, okay, more than a third likely to have sold illegal drugs than African American youth. Okay. More than 66% of those who use crack cocaine are white. Yet, in 2006, 82% of those convicted and sentenced under federal crack cocaine laws were African American. According to the Sentencing Project in 2004, majority of illegal drug users and dealers nationwide are European or white, but 3/4 of all people in prison for drug offenses have been African American or Latino. Wow. Human Rights Watch reported in 2000 that in 7 states, African Americans constitute 80 to 90% of all drug offenders sent to prison. In at least 15 states, Blacks are admitted to prison on drug charges at a rate from 21 to 57 times greater than that of white men. You guys catch that? These Europeans are 8 times more likely to sell and use illegal drugs and crack more than us. Well, we are the ones who fill the prison for selling or using crack. The Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 was an act of Congress signed into law by U.S. President Barack Obama on August 3rd, 2010. The law reduced the disparity between the amount of crack cocaine and powder cocaine needed to trigger certain United States federal criminal penalties from a 100-to-1 ratio weight ratio to an 18-to-1 weight ratio, and eliminated the 5-year mandatory minimum sentence for simple possession of crack cocaine. So I forgot to add in that that 100-to-1 mandatory minimum 5-year prison sentence for crack cocaine for 5 grams of crack cocaine included the user and the dealer. So the person with the problem that can't help it, that needs help, was getting the 5 years as well. Anyway, let's go further. Many drug offenders were freed from prison because of the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010 signed by President Obama. But the media propagated that President Obama freed thousands of nonviolent ex-cons, but never told that these ex-cons were over-sentenced by the racial drug disparity for the last 20 years. Under the Fair Drug Sentencing Act, the 100-to-1 ratio was changed to 18-to-1. As a result, it went from possession of 5 grams of crack to 28 grams of crack that required a mandatory minimum of 5 years. The ratio of 18-to-1 wasn't a punishment for Europeans. It was some breathing room for African Americans and Latinos, but it was not punishment for the dealing and the usage of Europeans. Check this out. Let's do the math. The 18-to-1 ratio. Okay, so now we know that 28 grams was a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years. So the way we find out the mandatory minimum sentence of cocaine is that we multiply the 28 grams times the ratio, which is 18. And that comes out to be 504. So the cocaine dealers, the meth dealers and users, the cocaine dealers and users get a 4 gram grace period. So they got added more. So they got more grams added to their requirement. So instead of 500, they get 504. So when you get a little breathing room, trust me, this European gonna make sure their own get some breathing room. All right. So that's the video.